evening, everyone. It's great to be back with everyone. Seriously, I'm so excited because I haven't been back for quite a while. As you all know, this month is our Computational Linguistics month, and tonight is our second event. And tonight we have dear João Victor Pessoa Rocha. Yes? Brilliant.
Yeah.
I had to work for that. I had to practice, but I'm glad I've done it. He's going to be presenting our second event, and I would like to introduce to you all who Victor is. Victor completed his undergraduate and master's degree in linguistics at the Federal University of Minas, Gerais.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm going good. A linguist he is, an NLP specialist and experienced professional in language technology. João is a linguist specializing in Brazilian Portuguese. He performs detailed analysis of spoken language through phonetic transcription and ensures quality control for speech and text transcriptions. He also leads various projects in computational linguistics to explore the nuances of language and creates creative instructions for text-based tasks. To date, he has contributed to the training of AI models by analyzing over 40,000 texts. As a research assistant, he combines his skills in linguistics and technology. He mentors young linguists in a programming-focused study group. In his voluntary linguistics work, he has made significant contributions to language analysis and the development of intuitive systems. Academically, he examines the sociolinguistic profile of Brazilian Portuguese through computational analysis. His technical expertise contributes to linguistic analysis processes using various tools such as Microsoft, Excel, Python, and LaTeX. Have I missed out anything? No. Hopefully not. Okay. Wow, this is a very long list. Seriously, it's great having you here today. I know all of the guests and everybody who's going to watch the videos on YouTube is going to be very excited to hear your presentation. Thanks for being with us tonight. Welcome. Let's listen to you.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the introduction. It was a very nice of you to say those kind of words about me.
You're welcome.
Can you see my screen already?
Yep.
Great. So hello, everyone. Good evening for you and good afternoon if you're listening from other countries, especially in Brazil. So today I'm going to be talking about critical skill sets to be a computational linguist. And before talking about the skills, I will shortly present myself just a little bit to say why I am a computational linguist and what I am doing here. So I have a bachelor's degree in language teaching and linguistics. Here in Brazil, we have a mixture of like language teaching, linguistics, and literature. By the beginning of this year, I finished my master's degree in linguistics, in which I specialized in computational sociolinguistics. And for about 2 years now, I've been working in the industry with linguistics, tech positions. Okay. But before I dive into like technical skills that we should have or that we should hone when we are trying to be a computational linguist, I have to tell you something that we have to remember that you are a linguist. And what's going to set you apart from the rest of the world is that you know linguistics, that you have a linguistics background. Sometimes people forget that to be a computational linguist, you should be a linguist firstly. So, and what I'm saying is, before you dive into statistics, programming, math, artificial intelligence, NLP, build first your foundation on linguistics. Learn morphology, semantics, syntax, pragmatics, phonology, phonetics, discourse analysis, social linguistics, whatever that interests you. And you don't have to be an expert on everything that exists on linguistics, but at least you should know like the basis or the basics, the foundation of at least your native language, I believe. So that that's why I try to learn a little bit of Brazilian Portuguese linguistics. Um, I studied as well English linguistics because of my major, my undergraduate course. And then with my master's, I developed a little bit with the Brazilian Portuguese. But don't forget that part, because what's gonna make you special, especially in the pool of candidates, is gonna be your linguistics background. Okay. Now, moving on to the, let's say, hard sciences or technical part. One thing that would be nice to have as a computational linguist is having coding skills. And it is hard, I'm not gonna lie. It can be sometimes quite frustrating, but it's like learning a foreign language or an additional language. You have to push through, and then you're gonna have some good level of proficiency. And here I decided to list three coding, let's say coding languages or programming languages, or tools that we can use in coding, and that I've seen computational linguist position, uh, computational linguist job descriptions requiring those three tools. The first one is Python, and basically because it's the most used tool or programming language for model constructions and feeding. So if you see, if you're going to do like logistic regression, or if you're going to build a language model, you're going to use Python probably. And Python is very, it's easy to use. It's very easy to learn as well. And you can do a bunch of stuff with Python. You can build a website, you can do modeling, you can do your data cleaning, you can do data post-processing, you can train artificial intelligence with Python. So Python is a good language to learn. The second one is SQL, SQL, and it's basically used for manipulation and management of databases. So you can imagine that you have a one bigger database that is divided in two, which is one with the texts that you have for your corpus, and the other part with your metadata about those texts. With SQL, you can search, for example, if you have a text, speech transcriptions, and you have the metadata, then you can look for texts based on the metadata. For example, I want speech transcriptions that it is about, that was spoken by a woman in her 30s. Through SQL, you can do that. And of course, you have to build the database first using the platform and the language, and then you can do the query. And the third tool would be Git. And Git is used for control versions and track changes. So you can imagine, like, if you have several people working on the same project, all of them are gonna add or delete parts of the project that you're doing. So in order to see what changed and who did what, we can use Git. It's kind of, you do on your command prompt. And then, for example, if I changed one line in the code file here, I can send it to, for example, GitHub, and then my manager can approve or not the change that I did. And also he can see the time that I did, that I uploaded, and see if it is kind of correct what I did with that addition. Okay. And by the way, you can type your questions on the chat, and I think by the end we are gonna have like question and answer session. Um, the next ability or the next skill set would be regarding artificial intelligence, especially now with the boom of ChatGPT, generative AI. It's good to have at least the basics or a general idea of what is happening with artificial intelligence and what is the repercussions in linguistics. So the first part would be the basics will be types of learning because we have supervised, unsupervised, and semi-supervised learning, and that's how learning here means how we are going to present the data to the machine in order to learn from it. How a AI engine works. So especially now with generative AI, transformers, and etc. You don't have to know like the you don't have to know in depth, but at least the basics how a transformer works, and then how the AI plan or predict the next word that is coming in the sentence, and all of this to think of what are the applications to linguistics, and here academically and in the industry, okay, academic and professionally. Other thing would be natural language processing, especially because um, as a linguist, um, natural language processing or the steps in NLP in order to have a good data set, I think they are very useful for us, especially in research. We can think about tokenization, parsing, part of speech, tagging, for example, if it is a verb, a noun, adjective, an adverb, name entity recognition, and this is a task related to if the machine can recognize entities, for example, John lives in London. So John is an entity, it is a person, and London is another entity of place. And also with natural language processing, you can build your own language model. Of course, those things have different levels of complexity and difficulty, but as you're learning, you can progress and do more complex tasks. And speech technology is something that is separate because it's very different to process written texts than spoken language. One, you have like um, graphic signals, which will be the letters, and the other one you have acoustic signals, which would be the waves of the sound. And for this, in case you want to work with speech technology, the two basic ones are automatic speech recognition, then is the human talking to the robot, and text to speech, which will be the robot talking to the human. Okay. Um, and then the next type of skill set that I would highlight in order to be a good computational linguist is data set and corpus operations. And this is something that I have worked, I believe in those 2 years that I mentioned that I've been working as a computational linguist, this is the thing that I've worked the most. This is with data set and corpus operations, it's a time to bring out your corpus linguistics knowledge and expertise. And I say that that the path that I did in order to go into computational linguistics was like the basic linguistics, syntax, morphology, semantics. Then I moved into corpus linguistics, and then I transitioned to computational linguistics. And it was a very smooth transition between corpus and computational because with corpus linguistics, you have a good foundation, not only of linguistics, but of what it is a good data set, what is a good corpus. Actually, corpus linguistics makes you think about the data. That's it. And the the better your data is, the better your model is going to be. And um, a lot of and you can be a computational linguist, not being and not be a corpus linguist. And for me, in order to do a good computational linguistics work, you should know corpus linguistics. And I've talked to 2 or 3 friends that have done the same path, and they agree. Other thing that you have to think about when you're um, working on corpus operations is data quality and compromise, because having best quality data is going to take time, and especially if you're working in the industry, you don't have maybe not much time, resources, human and material. Maybe you don't have enough money to hire more people to boost the time and the process. So then you have to reflect, okay, what can I do with this limited time, resources, and money that the company is providing, or the university is providing, but it still have the best data that I can do with those constraints, those restraints. So I have to think about that. And sadly, or not, you can only learn that by doing it. There is not like maybe a textbook on that. You just learn by doing. And the third part would be annotation. And this is maybe the easiest, but the most important part. Um, because with a bad annotation, you're gonna have a bad model and a bad performance. And you can do a lot of things. You can do text classification, which basically depends on the task, but you're gonna read the text and then classify, for example, if it is toxic or not. You can do again name entity recognition. You can do semantic classification, taxonomies, and whatever other type of annotation you need. Um, However, all of this that I've been saying comes with challenges, and especially the ones related to inserting yourself in the industry or getting a job. The first one is most companies don't know what a linguist can do. And that is sad because we can do a lot of things, but they don't know that. And um, for example, I can give an example here from Brazil. There is almost I can count like maybe in one hand or two hands maximum of companies that deals with technology or language technology that hire linguists. Maybe in the US and in Europe, they have more companies doing that, but it's still not all of them as it should be. Um, the second challenge is we don't know, we don't learn how to we don't learn how to transfer our skills to industry jobs. Basically, this is a feeling that I have that most linguistics programs, they are very academia focused. And then when we go to the job market, we don't know how to translate the skills that we acquired as an academic into as a linguist, a professional linguist. Um, and then we have to learn by doing mistakes, of course, but also um, learning on the job. And the third challenge would be the hiring focus now, especially because of generative AI, is on developers, not on humanities people. And that can be sad, but also it's an opportunity for us to learn more about the developing part. So, and then you can put yourself forward and you can set yourself apart by saying, hey, I can develop, but I also know linguistics. And that's going to be a very That's going to be a bridge that only you can cross, not all of the other candidates. But I'm saying all the problems, and now I'm going to give possible solutions to those challenges. The first one is self-branding. And then the first part of self-branding would be an expert, but I'm going to explain not totally like a super expert. You have to identify your area of expertise, highlight your specific skills within the field of NLP, and have proof that you are an expert. And for example, if you are undergraduate and you're just starting your linguistics program, you don't have to be an expert right now. I think you should experiment and experience as many areas of linguistics as possible during your linguistics program. And within computational linguistics, if you're willing to work in the industry, you have a lot of subfields. So you can work with chatbots, you can work with language models, you can work with annotation, you can work with what else? You can work with translation, machine translation. You can work with speech technology. So that experience that. You should experience that in order to choose one. And then maybe when you finish your undergraduate program, then you can move on to a master's or maybe a specialization in that type of thing that you want. Or while you're doing the linguistics major, you can already do projects on your own and ask a professor for help. And then having that area of expertise, you can highlight your specific skills. Then, for example, I am a Brazilian Portuguese linguist that specializes in sociolinguistic profiling, for example. Or I am a linguist that specialized in the computational processing of Turkish Sign Language. Then you should have proof of that. Not only like your credentials, the credentials are a good proof, a good evidence that you are an expert, but you should also have all the things that I'm gonna talk about in the next slide. And then the second part of self-branding which is very important, is networking and visibility of your work. And the tips that I give here is related to attending conferences, workshops, and meetups, because then you're gonna meet people and you're gonna talk to people. You're gonna exchange, maybe exchange contact information, and then, for example, if you knew someone that is like an employer and they are looking for linguists, you can, maybe send them a message and say, "Hey, I met you in such and such conference. I saw that you're posting a job description for linguists. Can we talk a little bit?" And then maybe you're gonna get the job. And also, it is very important to share experiences and insights on social media. And here, for professional purposes, LinkedIn is the most used. So LinkedIn would be a good option for that. And I'm gonna say, maybe you say like, "Oh, that's not gonna work. I'm just writing text and it doesn't work." I can say that soon after I started posting on LinkedIn, I got my first job as a computational linguist. And I'm not saying it was only because of that, but the employer saw my post and got interested in me and decided to hire me. So it can be an option, and maybe an employer won't contact you, but then with your posts, you can maybe have a network of people that maybe can recommend you, or people that can send you materials that you wanted, or maybe you can find a mentor, people that are senior than you in the industry or professionally or academically speaking, and they can help you navigate your career. And then now let's go to the part of having proof and maybe sharing experiences on LinkedIn. The next part you should do, the next part that is good to overcome those challenges is having a portfolio. We know that, for example, artists, especially visual artists, they have that in order to showcase their style. But also we can have portfolios for non-artist professionals, um, and it is good for showcase your relevant NLP projects. So that's the place where you can put everything: descriptions, images, links, your coding files, to showcase what you've done with some projects. You should highlight your linguistic expertise. And here you can divide in two types of expertise. You can say, oh, I am a linguist focused on phonology and phonetics, or I'm a linguist focused on morphology and phonology. And that's great. But also, as a linguist, I think you should highlight also if you are bilingual, if you are multilingual, because then that can open a lot of jobs for you. Because then if I only speak Brazilian Portuguese, I can only work with Brazilian Portuguese. But I also speak English, so I can work with projects or things that works with English. I know just a little bit of Italian, but not enough to be a linguist of Italian. But anyway, you can put that too, because then they can see that you are trying to learn more languages. And that's a personal opinion. Linguists should be at least bilingual. That's my personal opinion. Maybe you disagree, but since we are working with language, why would we stop with only one, right? Okay. Anyway, then when you're doing your experience list or project lists, you should explain your role and the contributions that you had. So, for example, I was a computational linguist for the project of uh, speech transcriptions with phonetic criteria. And then I did, I don't know, 40 transcriptions, and I did the review of 100. So that would be a good explanation. And then emphasize your technical skills. If you know Python, math, statistics, linguistics, LaTeX, maybe something like Excel or Sheets in general, Git, SQL, the things that I mentioned earlier. And, oops, sorry. And then it is good to make your portfolio visually appealing, not only like maybe a blank PDF. You can work with several platforms. For example, you can use, I'm gonna put on the chat, you can use Canva, you can use Genially. Those are like platforms that they have templates. They are not exclusively for portfolios, but you can adapt them to portfolio. But you can do it on GitHub. You can do a PDF, but it should be somewhat visual appealing, and it's going to be good if it looks like a website. And in order for you to practice and put things on your portfolio, I decided to bring some case studies or like projects that you can do in order to learn about computational linguistics and practice that. So the first one is sentiment analysis on social media. So you can collect tweets or posts from social media platform and analyze the sentiment expressed in them. Here you can learn about annotation, and then you can learn about model construction, because then you're going to annotate which one are negative, positive, and neutral. Then do a model in order to recognize them and see if they can automatically classify the sentiment of new posts. Another one, if you like translation, we can talk about multilingual machine translation, in which you're going to build a simple machine translation model using datasets like Europower or TED Talks in order to translate text between 2 or more languages. Yeah, it's going to be like your personal Google Translate. And the third one would be a text summarization tool. So you're going to get a data set that has the original text, the summarized text, and then run a model on that in order to learn how to do the summarization, and then put new text and check if it is correct or not. The summary, of course. So those are 3 types of projects that you can work on. Of course, there are many more projects that you can do. Those maybe are not the most complicated, or maybe you're going to find them very easy, or maybe very complex. It depends on where you are in your career, or what you already know, or how much you study. But I think those are good starting points, and then you can develop what you decide to do with your skills on computational linguistics. And just before we go, I would like to talk about the future developments for computational linguistics. For now, as I said, we are very focused on developers, people that has a computer science background. But I believe that in the future, we are not going to need them as much as we need them now, because the robots or AI is going to be very well nourished and developed. And then we're going to need professionals that learn about humans. And that is when linguists, anthropologists, psychologists, psychiatrists, historians, sociologists is going to work on those type of projects. So don't forget your humanities background. Of course, for now, maybe you're going to focus a little bit on the math, the statistics, computer science. But don't forget, while you're working on those new projects, to input your linguistics and humanities background, because they're very important. And as I said before, those type of backgrounds, they're going to set you apart from the rest of the candidates, or from the rest of your competition. And then maybe you get the job or the position that you want in a PhD or a master's degree. So yeah, so don't forget about that. And just before we go, I would like to do a little bit of self-propaganda. I have a video cast or podcast, whatever you want to call it, called Langbites, in which I invite different linguists that works in the industry, and I interview them about their career and about their professional, what they are doing with their professional path. Asking about like formation, what type of background they had, what are they doing, what their expectation, tips for new linguists that want to follow the same path. So you can check it out. I have like episodes in Portuguese with Brazilian linguists, but also have with English-speaking people from different nationalities. So you can check it out there. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, João. That was seriously brilliant. We enjoyed every minute of your presentation. Thank you very much. Now, do we have any questions? Yes, Tahir Coşkuner Dinçer, sorry, I'm having trouble reading. He says, I think one of the challenges is imposter syndrome, probably most common thing amongst people trying to do something not in their main field. For example, linguists becoming developers.
Yeah.
Interesting question, Hi, thank you for that question.
Yeah. The thing is, at the beginning, in the beginning, we are gonna suck. That's it. We are not experts on computer science or programming or statistics. So we are not gonna be good at it in the beginning. And maybe I mean it depends on the type of career that you want to build. But if you want to be a computational linguist, you don't have to be like a heavy programmer, a heavy statistician, or a heavy like computer scientist, and heavy like I mean like in depth on that. Um, and I'm gonna paraphrase something that a friend told me. I don't need to be I don't need to be a developer that knows linguistics. I need to be a linguist who knows how to code, and that there is a big difference in that. So, um, and then don't be so harsh on yourself. We've, at least I can say for myself, it was kind of a difficult transition to from a humanities background in order to learn a little bit of the math and programming part of it. But you just have to have discipline and keep going. Frustration is part of the process. Just keep going, and at least you're doing something.
Yeah.
You're not stuck. And if you get stuck, you can ask for help, and that's the good part of it. At least for me, when I was learning programming, I was in a group of people that were linguists majors and were learning programming because of our research group. So then it was easy. The process was easier because there were more people in having the same problems as I was, and then we would exchange ideas, we would ask for help, and that would work very well.
But it's seriously difficult. I mean, just the thought, I mean, being a linguist, right? You have to be a linguist, you have to choose your area, and you have to be an expertise in that area. That's hard work. And then you have to add the programming side, the developing side. It's like, wow, so much stuff you have to learn. Yes, maybe you don't have to be a developer, but to be able to be in this area, you have to know it to a certain extent. Isn't that a lot of work? I mean, just listening about it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. It's like, that's too much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But then you can have strategies to kind of overcoming that. And I'm going to literal translate something that we have in Portuguese. Maybe it's kind of a little bit morbid, but like killing two rabbits with one strike. There will be like two different things, and then you combine them into one. You can do something that I try to do at the end of my major. Whenever a professor gives you a project, especially linguistics project, try to use what you've been learning with computational linguistics.
Mm.
So, for example, if they ask you, oh, you should analyze the semantics of verbs, then you can, if you have learned, for example, tokenization and part of speech tagging, you can automatically find the verbs and then do the semantic analysis. So maybe you can combine them. And one thing that is very good about those things or this type of approach is that you learn programming better if you use project-based approach. Like if I need to learn tokenization for this project, I'm going to learn tokenization. If I don't need it, I'm not going to learn it now, but maybe in another project. So maybe you can kind of settle down a little bit and work peacefully with those tools.
Thank you for that advice. Tahi thanks you for the answer. And he agrees, yes, exactly. Sometimes forgetting the human nature. Thank you very much, Tahi, for your great question. Falin says, thank you so much, Victor, for sharing your valuable insights, for accepting our invitation, and for taking the time to join us. It was a very enjoyable presentation. And we have a question from Ali Kaya. Hey, Victor, it's been an awesome presentation. Thank you. As someone who's also engaged in this field, I find the interdisciplinary nature of computational linguistics particularly exciting. How do you think having a solid grasp of microfields like syntax enhances one's ability to work effectively in computational linguistics? Any thoughts on how we can encourage more collaboration between the domains?
Oh, okay.
Very
Great question, but very complex. Yeah. I think, okay, for example, I've worked with a project which was sociolinguistic driven, in which we were dealing with regional expressions in Brazilian Portuguese. And then we had to create some kind of classification or division or groupings with those regional expressions so that we can feed the model in order to understand what those regional expressions mean. And in order to do that, I was personally the kind of manager of this project at the company. So then I had to think about syntax, for example, what type of position those expressions appear in the sentence, and especially working with regional expressions, I had to think of the pragmatics, because I don't know how it is in Turkish, but in Brazilian Portuguese, if you have a regional expression, they don't make sense in the literal sense. But if you combine them, you use them as a regional expression, they are not, they have like a pragmatic consequence, not semantic. For example, here in my region, we use the word trem. In the literal translation would be train, like the transport, but we use it as a synonym of thing as well.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's the same phonological structure, the same phonetic structure, but having different pragmatic aftermath. Anyway, so in order to work with this type of project, knowledge of syntax, sociolinguistics, semantics, pragmatics, and sometimes even phonetics can work very well with those types of projects. But to answer the first question, it really depends on the project. If you're working more like text classification, they are more general. Maybe a basic knowledge of semantics, pragmatics, it will work. But if you're working with more specific projects like the one that I just mentioned, maybe others or other subfields will come in at hand. But it really depends on the project. And how we can encourage more collaboration, I believe we can divide it in three parts maybe. The first one is linguists learning more about computer science. Not to become a computer scientist, but at least the basic knowledge so you can interact with computer scientists. Also, computer scientists to be interested in the help of linguistics, because many computer scientists, they just like compute, or they just run the model, but they don't really think about the repercussions of like having more technical knowledge, especially with the linguistic knowledge that can improve the model that they are building. So I think that some, or maybe most computer scientists, they lack this interest of having the collaboration of linguistics. And now with the generative AI, this is kind of highlighted because ChatGPT can answer everything, so they don't think that linguistics is so important. And the third part, it would be having more collaboration in research, especially. This is very not all universities or institutions do have this kind of collaboration, so it would be very nice to have them, because then when the professors from different departments collaborate, then their students collaborate as well. And then when they get out of the college or the university, they're gonna get used to this type of collaboration, and probably we will engage that in, or encourage that in their workplace. So maybe that can help with collaboration. But I agree, it's very important and we should do it.
Thank you. Ali Chan also thanks you for your answer, great answer, and your great presentation. Koray has raised his hand. Let's listen to you, Koray.
Yes, thank you, Victor, for first of all, for the presentation, for having you here. I actually have a question for you. That's something that I thought of before but couldn't find an answer to. So you mentioned that actually computational linguistics has a lot common with like corpus linguistics. I also think that corpus linguistics has a major factor in working in computational linguistics. But I have to ask, like, what is the difference between computer-assisted corpus linguistics work and computational linguistics work?
Oh, nice question.
Oh, a very dangerous question as well.
Yes.
I haven't read a work or text or paper, whatever, that explicitly divide what the difference is. I'm gonna say my answer is gonna be from my experience, what I think it is the difference. I would say that for now, computer assisted corpus linguistics is corpus linguistics. You don't need the computer assisted, because not everybody uses the computer when they are working with corpus. And maybe they created this terminology computer assisted because the word corpus was first used when philologists working with ancient texts, and they have like the I forgot the name of the paper, but they had like very old texts, and they used the word corpus for their data set. So maybe that's why they use computer-assisted corpus linguistics. But for now, I would say that corpus linguistics is enough. But the difference between corpus linguistics and computational linguistics, I would say that both of them work with quantitative approaches in language, but corpus linguistics is more concerned with the data and the data set and the corpus itself, because the concern here is about how are we going to compile this corpus, what are the techniques that we are going to use to analyze this corpus, what type of variety, dialect, language, style, register we are going to compile in this corpus. What type of corpus are we going to have? Is it speech, written, monolingual, multilingual? Is it going to be, I forgot the technical term, but it's going to be like ever changing, like every year we are going to add new text, or we're going to stop? It's going to be diachronic or synchronic. That's it. It's going to be diachronic or synchronic. So those are the types of concerns that corpus linguistics have. And then you can have like some corpus semantics, corpus morphology, corpus phonology, and they have like specific tools to work with that. But computational linguistics is basically working with language with approaches from statistics and data science. Statistics and computer science, for example. And basically you have to run the model and you have a data set, not specifically a corpus. Because as I said before, you can do computational linguistics without doing corpus linguistics, and vice versa. And computational linguistics, I like to divide in two sub areas, which be natural language processing, in which you are building language technology. For example, Google Translation is a language technology. And the other part would be answering linguistics questions with computer science. And that's what I did, for example, for my master's. I used a sociolinguistics. I used a sociolinguistics problem. I used computer science approach to answer a sociolinguistic question. And it's basically more scientific, science-driven, and the other one is more like product-driven. But anyway, so both of them are like, they are not like a theoretical area like semantics, phonology, pragmatics, but corpus and computational linguistics, they are more methodological areas. Because you can do morphology, phonology, semantics, pragmatics, discourse analysis, sociolinguistics, cognitive linguistics with corpus or computational approaches. So they are more methodological than theoretical. Of course, you have theoretical discussions. They are very specific to those areas, but they are more methodologies or approaches than theoretical areas of linguistics. Did I answer? If not, please tell me, then I can redo it.
Yes, thank you for your answer. I still believe that there's just a slim line between them, because, you know, as you said, they both handle this big data sets. So you can't actually tell sometimes that what is what, and if this is actually a computational linguistics work, or if this is just a like computer assisted work. But yeah, thank you for your answer. Yeah, I believe it's like sufficient for me for now, at least. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just to compliment about what you said, depending on the methodology that the people use in their paper or in their research, it's kind of, it can be easy to track if they are more corpus or computational driven. It really depends on the methodology and the tools that they used. For example, if they use AntConc, which is a very famous tool for corpus linguistics, probably they are corpus linguists. Because if they were computational linguists, they wouldn't use AntConc. They would use Python, for example. So maybe that can be a hint for you.
Yes, that's better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, both for your answer, Victor, and your question, Koray. Now, Ahmet Arda Karabajak has a question. In addition to computational linguistics, I'm especially interested in data science. So I was thinking about learning R and SQL. What is your opinion on R in terms of its use in computational linguistics? Also, thanks for your precious time.
Okay, great. That's a good question.
Lovely questions coming.
Yeah, those people, they know how to make questions. That's great. So I would say, I'm gonna say from my personal experience, if you're thinking about industry jobs, they don't use R as much. They really use like Python or C++, SQL. But if you're thinking about research, like academia, and or research institutions, they use R. And from my personal experience, I used Python for data cleaning, data preprocessing, um, variable extraction in my master's degree. And then I did the statistics part in R, uh, mainly because my co-advisor was very proficient in R. So the models that we would like to run were uh, natively built in R. So it was easier to do in R than adapt it to Python. But answering, like if you want more academia driven things, R is enough, or not enough, but you can still continue learning R. But if you think of more like industry or a job market, Python is a better direction. Did I answer it?
Yes, Ahmed, do you have your answer? I think you've answered.
Yeah. We can move on to the next question while.
Okay, yes, he's happy. And Tahir has added a note to what you said. He agrees with you, not syntax or tutorials, but focusing on a particular problem and solving this problem, which leads to project-based work. So he's totally agreeing with you there. Ali Chan, again, he says, using computational linguistics, God, I can't even speak, for variationist social linguistics, very innovative. Thank you for the answer and the great presentation. Again, Tahir, thanks you. Ahmed, thanks you. Do we have any more questions, anyone?
Yeah. I just want to tap into what Ali, is that how I pronounce Ali?
Yes, Ali.
Okay. Computational social linguistics is something that is quite new, but people in Europe, some people in the US, they are doing that a lot these days. So maybe you can check it out. People from the University of Buckingham, Aston University, they have done pretty nice things on computational social linguistics, computational forensic linguistics as well. And what I did was exactly that, mixing computational linguistics and sociolinguistics. Computational linguistics and sociolinguistics, not variationist sociolinguistics, by the way. It was not Labovian sociolinguistics, but yeah. And I don't know how it is the sociolinguistics area in Turkey, but in case anyone here is interested, if you're doing computational sociolinguistics, it's going to be very innovative. And I can give an example and do, again, a self-propaganda. My master's degree was the first, like, paper or specialization, let's say the first degree that a person did on computational sociolinguistics here in Brazil. So maybe you can do that on Turkey as well.
Yes, why not? Ali Chan or anyone else who's interested. Yes, Ali Chan says he will check them out. Such an interesting interface. Thank you again, Ali. Any more questions? I'm assuming not. Guys, seriously, great questions, everyone. We've had such interesting, great questions. Thank you very much. And Philin, thanks you again. We'd love to stay in touch in the future. Yes.
Yeah, of
Please
course.
do
You
come
can
back.
contact.
We're always open for presentations because these seriously give us a way to learn things and to pass on information, pass on experiences. And you know how you said experience was important? I totally agree. If you want to improve yourself, if you want to go into an area, own experience and learning from others' experience is very, very important. So everything you shared here with us tonight was very special for all of us. It's very precious. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all the amazing questions. It was a pleasure being here with you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
If you wanted to contact me later, you can contact me, no problem.
Yes. Oh, we will do after this. Thank you so much. And everyone who's attended, some people have gone. Thank you, everyone. Do take care of yourselves. you will be watching this on YouTube. We will be sharing. Thanks again. Take very good care of yourself, João.
Thank you.
Continue working. Very hard work, though. Seriously.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.